Ed and I are back again with another video, buy, sell, or hold. We got 4 special cards for you guys today. Let's dive right in. But first of all, we are not suggesting that you buy or sell or hold any of these because we don't understand your risk tolerance. Just understand that we're speaking more from a general sense. We don't also understand your current investment mix or your level of wealth. And the price charts today are going to be from Card Ladder and Market Movers. 2011 Topps update, Mike Trout, PSA 10. How can we not discuss this one? Pop is right around 5,500, selling for around 2,800 right now. What do you think, Ed?
If I had this card, there's no way I would sell it. Strong hold on this, on the 2011 update, Mike Trout and the PSA 10. I mean, what can you say about Trout? I mean, the overwhelming majority of people that are watching this video obviously are going to know who Mike Trout is. This is probably the card from the 2010 from a card perspective. This is the one from the 2010s, from that decade, that people are going to look back on. In my opinion, the pop's not really that high. I'm sure you can find 5,536 people that would love to own this card. The pop is not high at all, especially compared to some other ultra modern players. So I probably even recommend buying at 28, 24. It's just a good card to have. Even though I know, Phil, you were talking about there's this like thing going on where people are trying to move away from base and go more towards parallels and inserts of specific rookies, but I'm still strong on Trout. So hold if you have it, buy if you want it.
Yeah. So with this card, I did a little bit of research, just a little, not too much. I'm a sell on this card. I'm a hold on most of Mike Trout stuff right now. I'm a sell on this card. And one of the reasons has to do with it being a base card. I don't think people have rotated off this yet. I look at this card over the last year, prices are down about 2%. You look at Juan Soto's update card, much higher pop, right around 20K. Talking about the paper update, not the Chrome. He's down 22% over the last year. Okay, you might think like, well, yeah, Soto's got like 4 times more, or 3.5 times more, 4 times more, whatever. And print runs even more than that. But here's the issue. Juan Soto has outperformed Trout with his other key cards, such as the Bowman Chrome autograph. So what I'm seeing, and it's not even close. I think one's like Soto's up 20% and Trout's down about 20%. So I think this is overvalued. Another thing I look at a lot is I compare this to the 2011 Bowman Chrome red jersey card to PSA 10. That in this card, usually the update will sell for more. Usually it will. But there'll be periods where the Bowman Chrome will be ahead of it. Will sell for more money. And I kind of use like that as an indicator as to I'll sell the one that's higher, especially if it's like 20, 25% higher. I think the Bowman Chrome red jersey is around like $2,400. So it's tough like to predict what Trout's going to do next year. Is he in the decline stage of his career? I think so. I don't know how fast he's going to decline. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows if he's going to win another MVP. Wander Franco being in the league now, Vladimir Guerrero being in the league now, Shohei Ohtani being in the league now, that gives him, there's 2 types of competition. There's the competition for hobby love, which Trout is sort of separate in that he's like, he's the most mature and his hobby's established and his career is somewhat established compared to those guys. But with regards to like fighting it out for hobby appeal, and especially MVPs, because those other guys I mentioned are in the American League, that could present an issue for Trout's ability to win his 4th. So, and clearly we've seen his issue with being able to stay healthy, be on the field, and it's just so tough because he was so great in 2021 before he went down. In 2020, he had, some issues. He was just getting started. Defense was a problem and he wasn't walking as much, but 2021 he seemed to fix some of those offensive issues at least. So I think overall Trout hold, this card sell for the reasons I mentioned. Next card, 2018 Bowman Chrome base, another base card. This is the one with the Dasani bottle. I don't know why you can't really see it in this picture. He's got a Dasani water bottle in front of him. Luis Robert. This is the first and only, I believe, Beckett card we'll be looking at. Pop 476, selling for about $95. Last two sales are, I think, 95 and like 76. What do you think, Ed?
I probably sell on this. I do like LouBob, but I'm just not feeling the BGS 9.5 here. I would probably sell if I had this card.
Yeah, I'm with you there. A lot of people will say that Luis Robert is a big buying opportunity right now. I think there's a couple things that help me with my argument and with my conviction. A, it's a base card. Even though the pop's 476, there's 8,000 in PSA 10s. Not only is it a base card, but it's a BGS 9.5. So at some point, people are going to have to decide what's the long-term value of a base card, and if there's still room for them in the hobby, which I think there will be, especially for certain players, certain pops and popularities. Is the PSA 10 the only play, or is a BGS 9.5 an okay play for a base card? So there's just some uncertainty there. With regards to LouBob overall, his hobby, I looked at his numbers a bit because I know he had a really great end of the season and pretty good start to the season too, and then he got injured for a bunch of it. He's 24 years old now. His total numbers are 13 home runs and 296 at bats, 338 average, 3.2 Fangraphs WAR. Steamer, a projection source, has him as a 5 WAR, basically a 5 WAR guy in 2022. His strikeout rate was down from 32% to 21% if looking at 2020 versus 2021. I looked further into his batted ball data. So his line drive rate went up, fly ball rate went down. He made a big improvement against fastballs. His defense actually slipped to average, but that's just based on Fangraphs. Baseball Reference might show different metrics there. So here, I worry about a guy who debuted in 2020 that the hobby hasn't figured out yet. Like, if he was a great buying opportunity, wouldn't his prices have already gone up? It's sort of like the same argument with Rafael Devers, Bo Bichette. I like those guys. I might like them a tad bit more. But they're still struggling with the same dilemma as is there enough room for them in the hobby? There's so many good young players, and there's got to be more, presumably. Bobby Witt, Julio Rodriguez, Wander Franco just entered the building. We've still got Tatis, Soto, Acuna, Ohtani. Don't forget about Vlad. In addition to that, you've got established players, and you've got the guys like Trout in the middle of their career. There's a lot of players out there, and there's a finite amount of dollars, right? So what's the wallet share going to be for Luis Robert?
I think the issue with LouBob that you're seeing in the hobby is, and it's not his fault, is that when all the newer people and when the Graydon explosion happened in the hobby, LouBob and also Gavin Lux were the two guys that everyone was sending in to PSA. So the population on LouBob's, Topps Chrome, flagship rookie is just, it's so inflated and it's so high. And because of that, his secondary value suffering, even though, as you said, he had a very solid season. And it seems like, the majority of the hobby just didn't notice that or didn't pay attention to that. But I still think he'll have that stigma from the explosion of Graydon that we saw in 2020, where everyone, basically, it seemed like almost every single one of his cards was getting graded. And because of that, there's this huge expectation on him to just put up, video game numbers, and he's doing good. He's putting up very solid numbers, but for what is out there, I mean, there's just so much of his stuff out there,
Right.
in graded form.
Yeah. So people, I think, yeah, there's a couple things there. First of all, nobody knows what his ceiling is. Like, who is the real LouBob? What can we really expect from him? Clearly, he doesn't have the ceiling of a Wander Franco. Clearly, he's got a lower floor than Wander Franco. So what is he? We saw some of what you could extrapolate that across a full season. Again, it's probably about a 5 WAR, a little bit more based on what he did last year. And what you said, that's huge. That's what I meant to go into. The fact that he debuted in 2020, I feel very strongly that you can really like a player and feel bullish about him and his career and not be bullish about his cards just because of where he and when he debuted. And it's not as bad as like Bo Bichette technically because he wasn't in Series 1, so he did miss certain products, but he was still in complete sets. He was still in Series 2, and he was in a bunch of other stuff, and he still has probably like, 7 or 8 tops flagship short prints. That's an issue. You can make the argument that, that'll make this card more valuable because it was earlier and it wasn't printed as much, and the PSA 10s at 8,000, like that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot of competition. It even bothers me for guys that debuted in 2019, just not as much. One of the reasons why I think the two of us like Soto as much is because he doesn't have as much stuff from a rookie perspective and pre-rookie perspective.
And we've been saying that a long time. Like, he really doesn't have many rookies. Soto.
Right. All right. Bobby Witt. Now, you're not a huge Bowman Chrome autograph guy, but, you know my audience, man. I had to include at least one. This is his refractor in a PSA 10, Pop 41, about $3,500, but that last sale was in October. Note that. Not a super liquid card. What do you think?
I wouldn't say I'm not a Bowman Chrome autograph guy. I'm not really a prospect guy. I like to see the player come to the majors, see how he responds, and I like to watch him I like to watch a player before I start buying them. And every player responds differently to getting the call to the majors. For this particular card, $3,550, I would sell. The thing I would be concerned about is on this chart, there's not a lot of sales compared to other cards you showed. So, from that initial spike in February 15th of 2021, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 12 sales of this card. That's not, I don't think that's a lot. That's not too many. But $3,550, I would sell. Phil, you're probably, I'm going to say, Phil, you're probably going to say buy because of the low pop. And Bobby Witt Jr. does have a ton of hobby love and hobby. A lot of people like him in the hobby. They're high on him. I would say short term, you probably do great on this card. But for me, I'm not taking the risk. I'll take my $3,550 and beat the road.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, I'm a buy here. I don't know if I'd hold till his first his major league debut. He tore it up last year in spring training, but that's spring training. Most of the guys also, they tend to fall at their debut. Maybe not like cards as limited as this, but one of the there's a few things here. There's Bobby Witt, number one prospect again. The hype, it's coming. It's only going to grow. The Baseball America list gets updated in January, and he's going to be number one, no doubt. People have been saying it for years, like, don't buy Wander Franco. He plays for the Rays. Nobody cares about them. He's definitely a sell. Oh, that's a one attribute you're looking at. Very interesting. Somebody I know said Luis Robert plays for the White Sox, so don't buy him, even though he's in Chicago. I've heard people say, "Oh, too bad Tatis plays for the Padres." When Acuna, was coming up, a lot of people said, "Well, the Braves suck." Well, nobody cares about the Nationals, even though they were like the NLCS favorite to win the pennant like multiple years in a row with Soto. So I don't know. The Kansas City thing doesn't bother me at all. If anything, it's a buying opportunity. If he ends up succeeding, he's going to make that market. There'll be a new market. There'll be a new following. They did win a World Series also not too long ago, for those that forgot. But those are overrated too, I think. But from a card perspective, right now, these refractors, number to 499, the regular refractors, autograph, the PSA 10 especially, they're very sought after. The multipliers have kind of broken. Like I put out my own multipliers for Bowman Chrome colors and all the different parallels. Put that out like a year and a half ago. But this has really pushed it that people want this card and not just Witt, but others. And the fact that it's Witt and there's only 41 of them makes it more desirable. Man, that's a pretty sweet design too. By far the most beautiful card that we've looked at in this series.
It's definitely going to go up. I guarantee it'll go up. Especially when he debuts, it'll probably go up like to 45.
Well, the thing is, it's probably already 45. So last sale being in October, if you look like his player index on Card Ladder might show some of this, but his stuff's already up over the last couple of months. I don't think you'd be able to find this card for under 4,000 in this grade. So technically I'm cheating by saying, yeah, I'll buy this and I'll make money, but you can't really buy it right now for this price. I do think January, February would be a good time to sell. Lockout fears, you can get out in front of that, I think, by selling earlier. Maybe in January, but yeah, this is a buy for me. 21-year-old. One of the other risks of holding this into the season would be a lot of guys that have come up have struggled. The rate of success has dropped, and that has to do with explainable factors, and it all goes back to COVID and the way the way minor league teams have been kind of curbed in their ability to develop properly and get the right practice and games played and competition. And the taxi squads have also screwed that up. So you look at all of these guys that have come up and have struggled, like Jared Kelnick, Christian Pash,
Alec Bohm.
Go down the list of 2021 rookies. And sure, there have been some that have done well, but most have failed. Those that have done well, that's more the exception. All right, last card. Wander Franco, 2022 Top Series 1 base. Not out yet. Will be out at around Super Bowl time. Pop, maybe $2 billion at the end of the day. Just kidding. But are you buying that card or what?
I think everyone on the planet will have one at one point. I mean, what Top's going to print that thing? They're going to print so many. In all seriousness, I hear some people say, I've been hearing some people mumbling about how Topps is going to print it back to the 90s and the 80s during the junk wax era, and I'm like, it's never going to get that crazy. It'll never ever get that crazy like it was in the 80s and the 90s. 50 years from now, maybe 100 years from now, there's still going to be pallets and pallets of 91 Donruss sitting around. So while the 2022 Topps Series 1, while the print is definitely going to be way higher, it's not going to be insanely higher than, the junk wax are. But I would pivot towards Wander Franco's Bowman Chrome card instead of his Series 1 base, just because I think the print run will be it's going to be way higher than what we've seen in the last decade or so for flagship Series 1. So you're going to be seeing many of those babies around. So I would go to the Bowman Chrome Franco. I think that one is the better option.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Bowman Chrome, for me, probably, the base card, if you're going for a base, 2019 Bowman's a better play. Especially if you're making this decision in February. What happens with new releases, there's not enough singles out there in the marketplace. People usually underestimate how many have been printed. In this case, it could be extraordinary. As you mentioned, Topps is really going to milk this for all that it's worth. It's a big opportunity for them to print a lot. A couple of weeks after release, you're going to have demand as high as it's ever going to be for Wander and supply pretty low because there's not going to be a lot of open product. Complete sets won't have been pushed out to the public yet. So there's that to add to the supply. So absolutely staying away from this card in base form. Gold and black parallels. We'll see what they look like for me. And that's more of a collector take. like the aesthetics of the card, because it might not matter from an investment perspective. But the parallels haven't looked that great over the last couple of years. I think we're going to a full border card, so that could impact like the parallels might maybe looking a little bit more like 2015, a little less like last couple of years. Although 2018 was great without the borders, and I'm sure you agree with me there. The 2018 parallels looked awesome,
Yes,
especially the gold. Well, all of them really. It helped that the players were awesome, but yeah, absolutely staying away from this card. Doesn't mean I'm anti-Wander. I'm holding some Wander stuff, and I'll definitely look for maybe more buying opportunities in season next year.
you're going to be looking for those golds and rainbow foils. I guarantee you're going to be looking for those.
Yeah, they'll still be inflated the first month, probably a bit, but yeah, I don't know if I'll be opening product because the pack odds. Ugh, just imagine what they'll be. All right, that is it. Tell us what you think in the comments of the 4 players we discussed today. And like, comment, subscribe, guys. Take care.